timeless, robust, and infamous. All words used to describe the CounterStrike series over its illustrious 20-year reign as one of the most popular first-person shooters of all time. Fittingly, these are also words used to describe the item most synonymous with Counter-Strike from the start, the AK-47. Powerful and reliable, the AK-47 is one of the most popular assault rifles in the world. Being the most iconic rifle of all time, it's only fitting that it's become a mainstay in a game of the same magnitude, Counter-Strike. Originally a mod for Valve's PC title Half-Life, Counter-Strike 1.6, the first installment of the game, was created by Min Guzman Lee and Jess Cliff in 1999. This is where we got our first look at the AK-47 in Counter-Strike. But it wasn't actually called the AK-47 at all. Instead, the CV-47. It's speculated that due to the game's humble beginnings as a mod, the two-man development team didn't have the time or money to ask for permission to use the real names, so they simply renamed them. Landing yourself on the T side, you could pick up your very own CV-47 for $2,500. This 1999 version of the AK looks very different to what we're used to in later titles. Still recognizable as the AK, which admittedly isn't very hard to do, it just looks very thin and dainty in the barrel and front sight area. Overall, the weapon looks very thin, with its charging handle and ejection port on the left side of the weapon, ejecting casings into the face of the player. You can also see completely through the weapon while it's ejecting casings, something that shouldn't be possible. Recoil-wise, the AK has had the same unwieldy recoil since the beginning. It's interesting to note that unlike CSGO, the recoil pattern can be different from spray to spray, sometimes pulling up and to the left and sometimes pulling up and to the right. You're also able to drop the gun on the floor, and you'll be greeted with a low poly full view of the gun. However, it doesn't have physics enabled, so shooting it or blowing it up will yield little results. From humble beginnings as a mod, Counter-Strike was only just getting started. 5 years after the original mod was released, we got our next installment of the Counter-Strike series, Condition Zero. Counter-Strike Condition Zero was released in 2004 and was essentially the same game running on the same goal source engine, but with updated models, textures and maps, plus 2 single-player campaigns. Still called the CV-47 and costing the same $2,500 to purchase, the AK was pretty much untouched besides the new model. This new 2004 model gives us a whole different feel to the weapon. Overall, it's a pretty big jump in quality. The charging handle now actually resembles a handle and is still on the left side of the weapon, but at least you can't see completely through it when it's firing. As with the cost and the sound, the recoil is pretty much the same as 1.6. Also, surprise surprise, but physics still don't exist on the AK once dropped. But that was all about to change. A few months later in that same year of 2004, Valve released yet another Counter-Strike title, this time running on their brand new physics-based engine. Enter Counter-Strike Source. No longer just a graphical update of the original mod, this new title was built onto the new Source engine, an engine about to be solidified into gaming history with the release of Half-Life 2 later that month. Costing the same $2,500 to purchase and still called the CV-47, this new AK running on the vastly upgraded Source engine is the best looking yet. Boasting an infinitely increased polygon count and more realistic textures, this version of the AK looks and feels great to use. It's the first one out of the lot to actually feel fully 3D, and to pull off the heft of the AK. Also, the ejection port and charging handle are still on the left side. Overall, the detail on this AK is great, with a nice attention to detail, especially in the front and rear sight. The sound on this Source AK is similar to the previous titles, but definitely has a more realistic sound. Definitely a more roomy sound with some echo applied to it. The recoil pattern on this Source AK is also very similar to the previous titles, in the fact that it's semi-random and not the same every time. Also, physics. Valve was very keen to show off their new physics-based Source engine, so most of the clutter around maps is actually interactable. If you could hold out on messing around with barrels and dead players, This source version of CS was the gold standard in not only CounterStrike, but competitive first-person shooters for nearly the next decade. But something happened in 2012 that would change the scene forever. Midway through August of 2012, Valve released their next mainline installment in the Counter-Strike series, CounterStrike Global Offensive. This is the most recent version of the game, still receiving regular gameplay updates, and is currently the most played game on Steam, boasting its highest player count since its release. Finally called the AK-47, CSGO shows us the highest quality version yet. Successfully conveying the weight and general toughness of the AK, this version nails the correct proportions and thickness of the rifle. No longer looking like you could bend it with your bare hands like in 1.6. Its ejection port and charging handle are now on the right side of the gun, no longer spitting empty casings into the player's face. This model easily boasts the most detail in both polygon count and the great wood grain textures, without it being too distracting. But just for that, Valve added an inspect feature for you to gawk at all your new cool skins. Interestingly, this AK model is actually borrowed from Valve's 2009 survival horror title, Left 4 Dead 2. Originally called the AKM, it was given new textures and animations, had its flashlight attachment removed, and firing sound slightly tweaked before being ported straight into CSGO. The recoil on this AK is what you'd expect out of the Counter-Strike series, promoting the use of short control burst or one-tapping for accurate fire, but this time the patterns are the same every time. You're also able to drop this weapon on the ground, and you can interact with it like Source by shooting it or blowing it up. Unlike Source, however, most of the items around the rest of the map are no longer interactable, so you can concentrate more on killing the enemy and less on rolling a barrel down long. The AK has been a part of Counter-Strike from the very beginning, and it's gone through many iterations. Let us know which one is your favourite in the comments below. Also, let us know what you think of this video, as I might do one for the M4A1 also. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching, bye.